Hello, Mrs. Rosie Bisset from Ireland. You are the president of European Dyslexia Association. And I thank you to come to us in France because I think I have some questions about the helps in your country. I just begin my questions about how are decided the helps for the dyslexic student in school during the year in your country?
Okay, I'm delighted to be with you. In Ireland, I suppose it varies somewhat. You have, I suppose, two main groups of students. We have those students who have had a formal diagnosis of dyslexia, so they have been to an educational psychologist and they have their detailed report and recommendations. So that generally makes it easier in terms of going to your school. You have very clear, this is what this child needs in terms of help. And then the other group of students would be those students who haven't been able to get a diagnostic assessment yet. Maybe they're on a waiting list or they can't afford to get one done, which can be an issue. And for those students, what has happened in Ireland is we have campaigned over the years so that supports can be provided even without a diagnosis. If the school do testing, teachers can be trained to do various tests of literacy skills. So if it's evident that a child has persistent problems with reading or spelling and the tests evidence this, then supports can be put in place even without a formal diagnosis of dyslexia. But I suppose it took a while to get to that point.
The families and the associations together have fight.
Yes. So I think there were a lot of things. There were families and individuals, there was the Dyslexia Association, but there was also even a gradual recognition and acknowledgement at government level and in certain education agencies that the system as it was not equitable, that the students who were getting the supports were the students who were lucky, whose parents could afford to get their assessment, could make that case for them. And it was recognized that this wasn't fair and that we needed to remove those barriers, particularly for people who had socioeconomic issues, or even where people were just waiting for a diagnosis. If it's clear that a child is having difficulties, the system is now set up that supports can happen even prior to a formal diagnosis of dyslexia, which is a positive thing because we know that early identification is important, but early intervention is even more important in terms of giving students access to, be it the tuition teaching, specialist teaching that they need.
Oh, now you have a very good relation and trust between the school, the parents, and the government, isn't it?
Yes, no, it has evolved a lot, and I think it has been difficult at times, and there were situations up to and including court cases with parents having to fight for their rights for things. In Ireland as well, the ombudsman, I think in France it's the Défenseur des droits, was a very important. So we have an ombudsman for children and then an ombudsman for adults, anyone from age 18 and above. And both of our ombudsman offices were very important in really helping to highlight inequalities and rights issues around dyslexia and access to accommodations and access to support in schools. So I think those individuals and organizations were really added to our work and our efforts to make the system more accessible for everyone who has a need.
Oh, congratulations, you're lucky because in France, we have a problem with the trust, exactly. And I will give you the example of exams accommodation. In France, if you have evidence of dyslexia and you make a form signed by your doctor, you have still 3 filters to reach the accommodation. The first one is the opinion of your teacher, your own teacher. The second one, it is a doctor working for the national education who reads the file and can cancel the advice or refuse the advice of the doctor, the one who has met the person in front of the person. And then if the two doctors agree with the accommodation, you have still the administration who is empowered to cancel the two advice of the two doctors. So it's very, very full of not trust and not believe the needs, and they are very focused on the control. And how it works in your country to have the exams accommodation, Rosie?
Okay, well, that actually has changed significantly as well. And now the exam accommodations in Ireland, which would have been very much based on your diagnostic assessment and things like that, now again it is much more devolved to schools. So if you have your medical diagnosis, that's great, and that can go with your application. But if you don't, you can also apply. It's not essential to have a formal diagnosis, but if you do, it does help, and it does carry weight in the process. So the process is very much devolved to the schools. It is the school that puts the application in, but that's done in conjunction with the parent and with the student. There are detailed guidelines and criteria that are set down by our what's called our State Examinations Commission, which is an agency within our Department of Education, and they do set down the sort of criteria that if a student can demonstrate this level of need, then they will get this accommodation. So the schools are bound by those guidelines, but broadly speaking, there is a trust in the system. The Exams Commission will audit a percentage of all the applications each year, but they don't look in huge depth in each one. There is a trust built into the schools, and they focus more on upskilling teachers, giving them guidance and training and support. And yes, there is a bit of, oversight and quality assurance and looking at a small number of applications in detail. But yes, there is a lot of trust built into the system that, look, the people who see these students the most are the teachers who are working with them every day. There is space even for the students to put their voice on the form, and explain about their needs as well.
Thank you very much. And is there maybe special accommodations if the student is actually not able to write and read? Is it possible, for example, to change a writing exam in oral exam in your country?
Yes, it is. Yes, and that's something we've had for many years. You can apply for either a scribe, which would be like a secretary, someone you would speak your answer and this person would write it down for you, or there have been a number of students who have even used voice dictation software, so where they speak and the computer writes what they have said. Our State Exams Commission is very interested, albeit slowly, moving towards enabling more use of computers and more use of assistive technology. In a couple of years ago, they've started allowing the scanning reading pens in exams, so that students can use those. So they're very open to technology and to different solutions like that, particularly if a school or a student can demonstrate that they use this technology or this different way of being assessed regularly.
Very well. Oh, I make well to invite you because you give us a lot of good news, and we hope our country join the rhythm of progress of Ireland very soon. So thank you very much, and we invite you to Paris maybe next year for the colloquium organized by FFDs. So thank you for IDEA, European Dyslexia Association, because it's a very good occasion to share knowledge about dyslexia.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Bisset.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.